So, mentors and allies. We all know, and I've probably experienced mentors. Tell our listeners the difference as you see it between being a mentor and being an ally.
So I see the mentoring as somebody who, at any level, it can be somebody senior, a peer-to-peer mentor, or somebody even junior or subordinate, can provide advice and counsel and be someone to bounce ideas off that you might have a question on as you proceed at different inflection points of your career. And then being an ally is different because that means leaning in to support somebody else. So maybe it's a teammate who's having a tough time with somebody else on the group and they need someone to stand up for them and be on their side. So to be an ally of theirs and strengthen their position.
So when we talk about leadership, let's say someone's in middle management, they're ascending along the lines that you did a few years ago. What type of advice would you give them about being a better listener and a better leader?
First of all, my first thought when you asked me the question is, hey, senior people need to listen to their middle leaders, middle managers, because that's where the power is, I think. And I saw that in the military, that you always think that the senior officers, the admirals and generals, have all the power. Really, it's those middle people who are pushing the policy recommendations up, developing all the policy and program recommendations. And the senior people, yeah, they evaluate it and they sign and have ideas and set the tone. But middle managers are so important. And they need to listen to what's going on in their organization, what's going on in the external environment. What are the big issues of the day that affect their company, whatever it might be, whether it's the military or a private company, a public nonprofit sector. The middle managers are those ones who are going to be, in my mind, they should be leading on the policy development.
What about some of the fallout from what we've all just experienced collectively with the COVID crisis? What about the trauma that I'm sure some people begin to feel, or the reluctance to get back to doing some of the things that were considered normal prior to, or even some of the things that they really do like and now have had a reassessment? What would be your take or maybe your advice to someone who's experiencing that?
I have seen adversity all my life in different forms, not that kind. We have, of course, prepared for pandemics in the past in the military. When I was commanding our recruit training center, which is the boot camp in Cape May, we would have adenovirus. Some of the outbreaks were pretty serious, given any given year. So we've dealt with things on a lesser scale than the COVID. And then, of course, there's other kinds of crises that you face. So I was thinking about it over this COVID time and thought, you know what? There's a lot of talk today about agile leadership, adaptive leadership. What does it all really mean? So I thought, I think being ready for the next whatever might come, crisis or challenge, requires organizations and people to adjust, their expectations of what they're doing. Because if people get comfortable in their zone where they are, so adjust your expectations, adapt according to what you need to do to prepare, and then you adjust, adapt, and you are agile as you encounter obstacles, crises, or something that gets in the way. And then you have to anticipate. So you need to be looking over the horizon, because if you can anticipate what's coming next, then you are better prepared for that first part of adjusting, adapting, and being agile.
I think the one thing that we all need to do every day is calm down a little bit and listen a little bit, because it seems like this isn't a middle of the road type of topic, and you have different people with different opinions. And I know I've personally been a part of some groups that are trying to reintegrate and come back to meeting. And it really irritates me when I have to be the voice of reason to explain to people, I appreciate your opinion, but if your opinion is different than Paul's, it doesn't mean that either one of you are right or wrong. We just need to find a way to move forward instead of talking about why our opinion is proper and someone else's opinion is wrong.
There's something that a friend of mine told me it was as I was writing this book, and I was going back to some of the ancient philosophers for some of my thoughts on some of my leadership lessons. And she told me, Sandy, remember that the purpose of higher education was to seek the truth, and not just seek the truth, but seek it in a way that seeks to understand other people, not to undermine them. And that really resonated with me, because it seems that so often today people are seeking to undermine each other before they even hear of what the other person's position really is. So right. I think that's so important, to seeking to understand, not undermine. We'd be such a better society, a civil society, if we could do that respectful conversation when seeking the truth.